MECHS. First introduced in the 1940s and popularized by Japanese media over the years, MECHS have become staples of the science fiction genre. Hello everyone, Loganator here, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. Today we will build MECHS in a game mostly oriented towards building rockets and airplanes, so it might be a bit difficult, but we'll give it a shot. Starting with mech number 1. So for this mech, it took me a little bit to brainstorm what I wanted to make, but this was eventually what I started out with, and I just tried to go for pretty much a simple design, so it kind of has random parts attached and whatnot, and it's just kind of like a proof of concept as for making a mech type vehicle in Kerbal Space Program. There you saw the claws and attached aerodynamic wing parts to try and see what looked good. Attached a kind of jetpack, more wings as kind of like armor, and to just kind of give the mech more shape than just a skeleton. Added more parts for the hips, and then added the legs, added some panels to the legs, and then made some pretty simple cones for feet. Attached energy so that the gears for the limbs to move had power to move. Switched out the chest for a nuclear reactor, and it was ready to go. Out on the launch pad, I tried to move the arms a bit, but there was a bit of a weight issue. That may have repeated a few times. So I added more parts to try and help it stabilize, like making the jetpack functional. Which of course didn't work at first. Or the second time around. Help, I need to get up, help. With the mech struggling to stand up, I decided to put it in a pose before I launched it. Again, still not working. Then I tried upgrading the jetpack one more time. Still not working. But that's okay, because now we're heading off to mech number 2. For this mech, I decided to go for a bigger juggernaut type mech, and mounted the shoulder points at a different angle, but the joints were pretty similar to the last one. Of course, used big aerodynamic tubes and fuel tanks to make the mech, and even a second pair of arms on the chest. Of course, because of how big this mech was, I decided to not put joints on the legs so it didn't fall over. Switched out the fuel tank chest for a cargo area, attached a jetpack, added some batteries to power the arms, gave it a little solar mustache, and it was ready to go. Out on the launch pad, you could see just how big this mech was compared to the flagpole and water tower. Before taking off, I decided to test the maneuverability and flexibility of the arm joints. Then I tried launching the mech, which did not turn out to be quite a good idea. changing some things around, I gave it a second go with similar but more disastrous results. I gave it a third go, but the balance and weight of this mech was not very promising. Which meant it was time to move on to mech number 3. This time, I decided to base the design of the mech off of a existing one in fiction media. Let's see if you can guess which one it is before I finish building it. As a separation from my previous designs, the pilot area I put in the chest region instead of using it as the head. And then I used larger robotic parts for the shoulders rather than the small joint ones that I was using earlier. I switched out the head and started building the skull, helmet, whatever you want to call it. After I finished making that, I moved on to building very large shoulder sections, which were part of the MECHS design, then adding long arm parts, which I switched out for more, I guess, believable, realistic arm parts, extended the chest area, and then started to build out the legs, and then adding the feet and putting a bit of design into the feet look. Alright, can you guess what the mech is based on what it looks like? That's right, it's Unit 1 from Neon Genesis Evangelion. Out on the launch pad, it already started to fall, just like the first mech. But I was able to move the arms around a bit, even though it was on its back. And if you're wondering why it's dark, it's because there's a bit of an eclipse going on in Kerbal Space Program. Trying again, I tried moving the arms, but it kept falling backwards. And went crazy when I started to move the arms about. With this mayhem, I decided to move to space for mech number 4. This mech, being quite large, made it quite difficult to bring it to space to reveal it. There you can see a little bit of it there. But after multiple attempts of trying to launch it, I eventually succeeded. Breaking through the atmosphere and bringing it to the stars, with a few hiccups along the way. Finally in space, I thought I was all clear until its foot got snagged on the rocket. But in space, you don't need feet. And here we have the final result. Can you guess what it is? That's right, it's based on the hit anime Gundam. Although it didn't stay in space for quite so long. With the Gundam now destroyed, it was time to move on to a bonus mech. This one I quickly whipped up, and I made it resemble a spider rather than a human, although its legs were not very strong in supporting it. And with that, If you enjoyed the video, consider hitting the like button and sharing the video with a friend. And if you want to stay up to date, consider subscribing today. Thank you everyone so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time. Loganator out.